Chapter 29. Zach, African American, age 25, August 16th, 2025. I didn't step out of the car right away that morning. I sat for a few moments in the parking lot. It had been a rough few days, and I felt the weight of it. That's when I noticed him. A young black man loading groceries into his trunk. Slender, stoic, handsome. I rolled down my window and called out, "You got a minute?" He turned, cautious. Later he'd admit, "He kind of caught me off guard. I was a little sketch." But in that moment, he gave me a nod. His name was Zach, 25, from Jacksonville. He told me he'd gone to Sandalwood High, then the local community college, where he earned an associate degree in business. Now he was working trades at a major investing and wealth building company. When I asked if he planned to go back to school, he said no, what he had was enough. I asked if he could move up at his company. Yeah. Did he have a 10-year plan? I don't think that far. Next year? Alive? Okay. I wanted to know what might surprise me about him. He didn't hesitate. I don't like black people. Then he began explaining what he meant, talking about behavior and annoyance. It landed hard. He was talking about his own people, me, himself. When I pressed for something else surprising, he shared another belief, discomfort with gay people, stated plainly, without much reflection. On faith, he said he believed in God, dismissing other religions without much thought. He called black churches judgmental and said he didn't attend anymore, though he still called himself a Christian. He also admitted he had pride. "It's good for me," he said. I wanted to know how he squared that with what the Bible teaches. He couldn't. The conversation turned to family. He told me he had a twin brother, close to him, though probably worse than he was. His twin was a firefighter. I told him I couldn't picture him running into a burning building to save anybody. How was his twin worse? Zach admitted that if it were his job, he'd do it too, the same reason his brother does. He said he wouldn't save me today, though. If I were walking into the store distracted and a car nearly hit me, he said there was nothing he could do. I shouldn't have been distracted. It wouldn't be his problem. When I talked about helping innocent kids who don't get to choose their circumstances, he shook his head again. Not my problem. I lack empathy. I looked at him and asked, half joking, "You're not a serial killer, are you?" He smirked. Nah. On women in leadership, he didn't soften his words. "I don't like women in leadership. They're not leaders." I told him I'd been a leader for 20 years. Soft, but strong. He waved it off. Too nice. Probably passive-aggressive like every other woman I've had as a boss. I told him I was too old and had lived too much life for games. I didn't have the mental capacity for that kind of leadership. Through all of it, he stood there, leaning on his bravado the way I leaned on my words. I asked, half serious, half joking, "Would you really just let a car hit me and leave me to die in this parking lot?" He grinned and said he'd call 911. I pushed back. "You wouldn't have to die trying or anything." He said he wouldn't. But after a pause and a half smile, he added, "I guess I'd try to save you." Close enough. I took it as a win. He told me about his mom. He was on his way to her house. She was going to show him how to make mac and cheese. About his dad, who had died 2 years earlier. They had been close. He has 5 siblings. Of course he loves them. He looks out for his little sister, even if she gets on his nerves. He admitted he cares about his friends. He'd help them to a point. It depended on the situation. Zach was a character. Maybe he was putting on a show to get a reaction, and my reaction, mostly disbelief and anxious laughter, fed into it. He dismissed women leaders, gay people, even his own people. He said he lacked empathy. And yet, he loved his family. He cared for his friends. He asked what had made my week so rough, waited politely, and didn't press when I said I didn't want to talk about it. He said yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. He stood there and talked, looked me in the eyes, and gave me the longest interview I've had for Truth Rises. Contradictions stacked on contradictions. What rose to the top for me? Zach felt like a young man in motion, still figuring himself out. I hoped the version of him that showed care and respect, even when his words didn't match, would win out. I hoped that quieter version would grow stronger, outgrowing the louder one that talked tough but felt unfinished. I hoped he would come to fully love the God he spoke of, and one day learn to love himself and others the way that God does. Still, for a long stretch in that parking lot, 2 strangers gave each other something simple and real: time, presence, conversation. We left thinking about the other person. I know I did. And later, when I shared the series with him by text, there was a brief response that surprised me and made me smile. I knew he would save me. This is truth, and truth always rises.